Salutations, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. V back with another Age of Empires 3 Thursday, and I gotta start out with an apology. I am 1 week late in getting out this 8th rendition of our series. I was having a bit of a flu bug, which left me sounding very gravelly and, well, let's just say my voice was even more annoying than usual, and I did not want to subject any of you to that. But we are back, and on top of that, I want to thank you guys. The channel kind of went through some random growth all of a sudden. A lot of new people deciding to join us on this little Age of Empires 3 journey as the Dutch explorer picks up the treasure, that poor pikeman, 40 food going into the Dutch pocket. So I'll talk about that more in just a little bit, but I got to introduce the players. We are on the map Portugal, which has a 5 trading post set and a very rich little sliver of land here. Very good as far as the treasure game goes, if you know where to look for them. In the north of the map, playing in the color blue as the Civilization Dutch, my personal favorite civ of all of Age of Empires 3. Man, I love me some Dutch. It is Bram, the Bramiest. I know he is playing as Ludwig Ernst Witzer. I did not say that right for sure, but it is Bram. He is a 1900 to 2000 ELO player. I think he's currently on the verge of 2000 ELO right now. I don't think he plays Dutch super often, playing a lot of Hausa these days, but I do know he is quite a good Dutch player when he does decide to play Dutch. And in the south of the map, his opponent playing as the color red, it is Keys Kachel or Keys Ketchel. I'm just going to go with Keys because, as you guys know, one of the things about me is I cannot get any usernames right, despite how hard I try. Playing as India, sending the Wood Trickle as his first card, quite standard, and getting in on this rich right side, this little sliver of land, which has some pretty easily takeable treasures. Not the biggest treasures, but if you work your way up this side of the map, you can collect quite a few treasures very quickly. So, going back to what I had just said, the growth has been really, really awesome to see. If you are a new person and you saw my last video, which for some reason got a lot more views than normal, I just want to say thank you. It does really mean a lot to me. This is just kind of a silly thing I started. I don't claim to be an expert in any way. So for those of you that are thinking, oh, this guy thinks, he's the best, I am not. I am a 1300 to 1400 ELO player. And that's, 1400 on a good day. Hopefully one day, I'll get up there, maybe into the 1600s. You never know. But I'm just a guy who likes casting games because I love Age of Empires 3 so much. So if you are new, thank you. Whether you left a nice comment or some constructive criticism, I am equally grateful for both. Now, enough of that sentimental mushy-gushy blah. Let's get into the game. So, Bram is the Dutch player. Tracking down one of these elephants, the treasure game looks pretty even. Bram did pick up a few of those 50 wood and 50 coin treasures. Meanwhile, it looks like the Indian explorers focused mostly on the XP treasures to the right side of the map. India is now in the commerce age, and the Dutch not far behind. Second bank already going down. Good herding here from Bram. Already have 2 hunts in his base, along with 2 very safe coin mines. Meanwhile, the India player, the herding, not quite as good, not quite as central to his town centers as Bram, but still a very good base layout, going with the Carney Mata. So I don't think we're going to see any aggressive Agra Fort, Sepoy, 4 Sour timing push. Honestly, I don't know how popular that build is as India anymore. I think, in early days, India was known as having a pretty good aggressive build, especially with 10-10. And I think the economic potential, as people have played more and as India has continued to be kind of a staple rather than the new flavor civ, I think people are really starting to tap into just how much of an economic powerhouse India can be. And also, the metagame has kind of shifted from the hyper-aggressive play to this more boomy, turtly, even kind of wall-centric style. And so that's been really cool to see the metagame shift. And who knows, we might come back to a very aggressive play style someday, but you never know. So Who is going to be the aggressor? I don't know. I think both of these players might be settling back for a boom. We have 3 banks from the Dutch player already and a market with no military building. I suspect that he used his 400 wood to get his second bank up even more quickly. That is something I like to do as Dutch, although my build is not nearly as efficient as Bram's. As you can see, the villager walking time, the herding, all very, very solid. And no vills on coin right now, all on food. So quite interesting. Maybe some sort of quick FF from the Dutch player here. Definitely not seeing the 5 Cav semi-FF or the 10 Skirm semi-FF, which I think is a good call versus India. I don't think you're going to do a lot of lasting damage to India as Age 2 Dutch, especially given that, I mean, Dutch's composition in Age 2 is way better than anything the Dutch can pull out. But he did send 3 settler, 700 wood, and the bank wagon, sending the 600 wood now. Gonna get that 4th bank, no, his 5th bank down. Oh my goodness. Bram is going full eco bank boom mode. And I don't think he's going to get punished for it. Just 5 Gurkha and 5 Sepoy on the map from Keys. And they are not in any sort of aggressive movement. The consulate coming down the Carnimata, the market. Yeah, I think both players just going to play super economically here, which I think is fine. I think both India and Dutch are content in this being an Age 2 battle. By the way, Keys is also kind of in that 1900 ELO range. When I just looked, he was at 1897, so basically 1900. Plays quite a bit of India, but also quite a bit of France, and quite a bit of Hausa. Hausa being quite the popular civ lately. I know one of my favorite casters, Widgie, likes to play a lot of Hausa along with Lakota. Shout out Widgie if you ever do see this video. Great caster. Love that guy's channel. But anyway, back to the game. No more fangirling over that sexy Brit. What is going to happen to this Dutch explorer? What's going to happen to 1572? Never forget. Is that some sort of... Oh, that's got to be some sort of historical reference I don't know about. I don't actually know Bram's nationality. I'm fairly certain that Bram is European. I don't know if he's actually Dutch or not. I know nothing about Keys, I must admit. Keys, this is the first time I've actually seen him play. But Bram finally putting down the military infrastructure, 2 barracks and a stable. I think this man is gearing up to get a nice mass in Fortress and almost up to Fortress, speaking of which. Meanwhile, no Fortress Age coming from Keys. He just sent Imperial Bureaucracy. Man, I really struggle with some of these names sometimes. But, okay. And the 600 coin. No, the 700 coin coming down from the India player. So this might be the jump start into the Fortress Age that we're looking for. But Bram's certainly going to have an edge in that tech. And we're going to see what he does with it. 2 barracks and a stable. Could be seeing double Skirm plus Reuter production, one of the Dutch's best compositions. In fact, I think it's the composition that Dutch goes for 9 times out of 10. Sometimes you see Reuter Falk, although I personally think Reuter Falk is not nearly as good as Skirm Reuter. I just think it's very unwieldy. But that's just my personal opinion from someone who plays almost entirely as Dutch. And it looks like Bram, did he send 1,000? He sent 1,000 wood. Wow, what is he going to do with 1,000 wood? Is he going to put up just... I mean, he built hardly any houses in the 2nd and 3rd Age. So maybe he's just going to get out a bunch of pop, another stable, possibly an arsenal, maybe? No arsenal coming down. Some counter infantry rifling would be really good for those skirms. Might be the edge he needs if Keys decides to go heavy on Gurkha, but also going to use it to get a lot of his market upgrades. I like that a lot. Steel traps and placer mines coming in. Possibly might get the wood gathering upgrade as well. Not quite as relevant for the Dutch yet. And infantry combat. So veteran skirmishers, 15% on their hit points and damage, along with pikemen and veteran halbs, which I doubt he will make. But the Dutch force coming across the map in Portugal. I don't know if, did the Dutch ever historically fight in Portugal? Perhaps during the Napoleonic Wars? Were the Dutch ever involved in the Iberian conflict against Napoleon? I have no idea. I know the Dutch were involved in Waterloo, little history tidbit. I don't know if they were ever in the Peninsular War. Gosh, I can't even speak my own language. But what does India got here? What does Keys have? Well, he's got some Gurkhas, got some Sepoy, got some Zambaraks, and the disciplined Mahout. Oh boy. If Bram does not control these Reuters well, who knows what that Mahout could do to that big skirmisher mass. But with the infantry combat coming in, he's going to have a nice little advantage. The Mahout coming in, along with the elephant explorers and the Zambaraks and the Sepoy, going to put a lot of good damage. He's got to target these Reuters, but the Mahout already down. Great control by the Reuters. The explorers getting the skirmisher snared, but this India army, I just don't think it's big enough. It doesn't have the mass to deal with these upgraded skirmishers. Still no arsenal coming down, so just the one upgrade on these Dutch skirms. But even with the one upgrade, still quite powerful. And the 8 skirm shipment coming out, I think this is just the advantage that India needs. No player investing in heavy cavalry just yet. Still going with Zambaraks. And no Hussar coming out of the Dutch players. So both players going with a balanced skirm goon set. And now the tide of the skirm war has shifted in favor of Keys. It looks like these Gurkha gonna drive the skirmishers off, and the Reuters can do little to nothing about it. And a nice little train of Zambaraks following close behind, but these skirmishers are just getting harassed. Look at the damage that they're taking. Meanwhile, the Vil count is 30 for Bram, 41 for Keys, although Bram does have 5 banks, which, if I remember, a bank is about 4 villagers worth of coin, so throwing about 20 Vils. And you might say that Bram actually has the economic advantage, although I might be wrong about how banks scale. I do know that the later the game goes, the banks don't have the economic potential of just, a large number of villagers. That's why in late game, industrial games, Dutch can tend to peter off, just because playing a civ like Portugal or Brit, which can pump out, 90 Vils, your 5 banks or 6 banks, they don't measure up. Okay, so it looks like the skirm shipment's coming in. 8 skirm just came in for Bram, along with, 8 skirm along with 10, and the Reuters, more coming down. So once these Dutch reinforcements hit, it could be nasty, and the Urmi are out. So once again, the Reuters are going to have to carefully get in the way of these infantry killers. Look at these guys. I mean, they don't even wear shirts. That's how buff and just confident these men are. Look at that. Shield, sword, no armor, no shirt required. Meanwhile, the Dutch skirmishers continuing to grow in number, but the amount of damage they took in kind of that pursuit by the Gurkhas was nasty. And I'm going to be honest, if I had to say which composition I like more right now, it's definitely for India. Although, nice job picking off those Urmi. The Urmi kind of slow here. Maybe are they tagged with this control group of Gurkha, because it felt like they were going so slow. Meanwhile, the Hussars coming out, and we are seeing the switch over. So looks like Bram's going to be the first to invest in some heavy cavalry. Meanwhile, the Dutch economy and the Indian economy continuing to just kind of slowly build. I haven't seen any more big boomy shipments coming from either player, though I must say I've been more focused on Keys. Looks like Keys sending 2 siege elephants. Now that is an interesting call, because I don't see anything in this Dutch army that siege elephants would be good against. There are no cannons. He's not going to go siege the Dutch base. I mean, not until he takes out this army. So I don't know. Are the siege elephants perhaps a bit premature? Perhaps Keys thinks he has the victory already locked up. I'm not so sure, because there are now 10 veteran Huss on the field, and Zambaraks, as far as anti-cav go, pretty weak unit. Kind of like Reuters, really only good in mass. Definitely not on par with, your standard Dragoon. More Gurkhas coming out. and more Hussar coming out for Bram. So I don't know. I think this next engagement might go very well for the Dutch player because we see, you know, the Indian player continuing to invest in light infantry, but not bolstering his anti-cav at all. Perhaps he suspects some kind of switch, but against what Bram is putting together, these siege elephants are going to be woefully inadequate. But both players starting to move out. Their villagers getting more and more vulnerable. Looks like Bram is going for water, but we're going to have a big fight on our hands here, folks. The Reuters, getting in a nasty position, going to drop. They are going to take out a couple of the army, but losing a lot of Reuters there. More skirms on the way, and what's getting built? More, some Soars coming out for Keys. So Keys investing in the heavy cavalry, but he's going to be very behind on his cavalry progression because Bram already has 18 veteran Hussar. Such a strong unit, the veteran Hussar. And if he can get him into a good spot, and he can kind of sponge that Soar and Zambrak damage with his Reuters and this big mass of skirms, he might be able to get a really nice engagement. There are a couple of Yermi, a couple of Seaboy, and Dutchville's gonna go down there. That coin mine, no way, Jose. Gonna lose this house, although he is sitting fairly good on pop. No, he might get capped there. Especially with how many Hussar he's making. Yep, definitely gonna need to get up a new house. And here come the Hussar. It looks like Keys has seen it, but the Hussar just getting into position, and there are not enough Soar here to soak up the damage. The Zambrak's going down very quickly. It looks like Bram is focusing that anti-cav with his skirmishers, and the Hussar, they might all go down before they get to this juicy batch, but more reinforcing Hussars, and the Soars not coming out in nearly as good a place. The Redcoats gonna put in some supporting fire, but against all of these skirmishers, they're gonna go down very quickly. A Falconet coming out from the India player. Are the Reuters just gonna smack that down immediately? This might go in favor of India. This might turn the veteran Hussar down, but so are all of the Zambreks and the Soars. And the Falconet is going to go down, not protecting it with his Redcoats. And I don't know. That was a pretty balanced fight. But overall, I think that went well for India. He took down all of the veteran Huss. He got his Zambreks in a very good position in hindsight. And more Soars coming out along with disciplined Zambreks. There better be more Reuters and Huss on the way. The skirmishers, though, with these upgrades are tanking so much, and they are winning the skirmishing war against these Gurkha. I do think the skirmishers are stronger, but look at how many Dutch vills are exposed here. The Dutch army gonna get decimated, but the reinforcing... I can't talk. It's so exciting. The reinforcing Hussar on the way, and not a lot there to stop them. The Redcoats are down. Now these Gurkha have to deal with 10 Hussars, and these siege elephants not going to do much to stop the massacre. And the light infantry might be saved. The Dutch skirmisher mass gonna get saved. Oh, look at me trying to put down a stable. Oh man, my Dutch bias coming in. I want the Dutch to succeed, even though Keys is playing very well. Stop putting down buildings, come on. Oh my goodness. The Zambrak's coming in, but it might be too little too late. Those Hussar came at a great time. And meanwhile, we have to remember, Bram has also established a fishing economy, and Keys is running out of food on his side of the map. More Gurkhas going down. The siege elephants doing very little. And again, these siege elephants just aren't playing a very useful role, and it's not a cheap shipment. They do cost food, and they do take up quite a bit of population. Perhaps, investing that in more heavy cavalry or some other unit would have been better, but the skirmisher war is not quite over. And a town center going down here for Keys, I don't think that's going to go up. Mainly because these skirmishers are going to try to present, although these villagers are going to sponge a little bit of damage. 2 villagers going down there. And the skirmishing war continues. I think the Gurkha are going to drive the Dutch back. And what a back and forth game this is, ladies and gentlemen. Oh my goodness. I got to back up away from the mic a little bit. I'm getting a little too excited, and a big batch of Reuters coming in. Not going to do a ton, but again, there's not a lot of Gurkhas here, so they might actually be able to just tank this. Yeah, look at those Reuters getting up close and personal. The siege elephants, again, there's just nothing for them to really do damage to. I mean, if the Dutch player had gone Falk, these would have been perfect, right? And we would all be saying that Keys is a genius, but I don't see what they've done. They've kind of sat in the back and done minimal damage. In come the Zambreks. But this massive Dutch Reuters going up against their counter and just not caring. which I do have to say, the Indian reinforcements have seemed a bit lacking. I don't know. Is Keys running out? Yeah, Keys is really low on food. And in come the veteran Hussar. And, well, he is getting out some Gurkha, getting down a lot of military buildings here, has an abundance of wood, but again, not a lot of food. Meanwhile, Bram continuing to boom on the water, so if this game goes any later, I think the Dutch player in a very nice position, the veteran Huss getting in the back, even going to take out these siege elephants, which, once again, have not been able to do that much in this fight. More Gurkhas coming out, but the overpowering numbers of Reuters. Look at these guys. They're up against the unit that should decimate them, and they just go, yeah, whatever, we don't care. I mean, I guess when you have 20, 25, 30 Reuters against 10 Gurkha, you might as well take the fight, right? And the Dutch player did take quite a few losses there, but did succeed in decimating the Indian army. Doesn't mean that there are not more reinforcements on the way, but of course there are reinforcements from the Dutch base as well, more skirmishers coming out, and we have to remember that that upgrade is working for the Dutch player. That is the end of the game, ladies and gentlemen. Wow. What a game. What a game. That was so awesome. It looks like Bram was even sending the 3 fleets. Maybe he was going to, oh, yeah, even going to start targeting some of these buildings on the shoreline for India. So, yeah, definitely looked like Bram was starting to take a commanding lead. And look at all of these exposed villagers. 17 vills would have gone down there. That would have decimated the Indian economy. And the final vill count, Keys at 53. And looks like Bram also at 53 if you add in the fishing boats, and then you got to add in the 5 banks on top of that. So Bram showing why, even though he doesn't play a lot of Dutch, is a very, very solid Dutch player. Although I will remind you, it is not his main. His main has been Hausa recently. And as far as I know, this is one of Keys' primary civs. Maybe not the civ he likes to play the most, but when I looked him up on the leaderboards, I saw a lot of India, and I saw a lot of French, and I did also see some Hausa as well. But ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this cast. I am sorry that it was a week behind. I am hoping that for the foreseeable future, we will not see any more gaps. Every Thursday, another casted game, because I really enjoy them. I hope you enjoy them too. And again, the growth that we saw in the past week, it warms my heart. I'm so happy you're all here, even if, you know, you only saw the one video and maybe you're stopping in to see the second one, even if you don't subscribe, even if you don't leave a comment. I really appreciate you just stopping to my little corner of the AOE3 community. Again, disclaimer, I am not an expert. I am not a pro player. I am a intermediate at best. I only play one civ. I'm the definition of a noob, but I love to watch AOE3, and I hope you enjoyed watching it as well. That's going to be it for me. So until next week, Thursday, for AOE3 number 9, I will see you later.